My name is Sarah Williams, and I'm 32 years old. I never thought I'd be sharing something this personal, but what happened last Christmas at my mother-in-law Margaret's house changed everything for our family. When I watched her hand out brand new iPhone 16 Pro Max phones to each of her grandchildren except my 7-year-old daughter Lily, declaring that Lily doesn't deserve one yet, I knew our family dynamics would never be the same. To understand the full impact of this moment, you need to know about our complicated family history. I grew up in a working-class family in Michigan where my parents taught me that kindness and respect mattered more than money or status. I met my husband David in college, where he was studying law while I pursued education. David came from significant wealth, but he never flaunted it, which I appreciated. The problems began when David brought me home to meet his family. The Williams family lived in an impressive estate in Connecticut, and Margaret's assessment of me felt more like a job interview than meeting my boyfriend's mother. She asked pointed questions about my background, career goals, and whether I truly understood the responsibilities that came with the Williams name. Despite Margaret's obvious disapproval, David proposed after 2 years of dating. Our wedding was beautiful, though Margaret made sure to comment that it was charming compared to the elaborate ceremonies her friends' children had. David's siblings, Robert and Jennifer, kept their distance, clearly unwilling to challenge their mother's perspective on me. When I became pregnant with Lily, I briefly hoped things might improve. Margaret seemed excited about a new grandchild, but I soon realized her interest was more about control than genuine affection. She criticized my decision to continue teaching after Lily was born and questioned everything from my parenting choices to the brands I chose for baby supplies. As Lily grew, the favoritism became increasingly obvious. Robert had 2 children, Emma and Jacob, while Jennifer had a daughter named Sophia. At family gatherings, Margaret would shower attention on these 3 while treating Lily as an afterthought. If Emma received a designer dress, Lily got a generic toy. If the family took special outings, Lily was often excluded while her cousins enjoyed premium experiences. David struggled with this dynamic. He would notice the differential treatment but rationalize it with excuses like "Mom's just old-fashioned" or "she doesn't mean anything by it." I tried repeatedly to build bridges with Margaret, helping with her charity events and encouraging Lily to make handmade gifts for her grandmother. Nothing seemed to break through her wall of disapproval. The tension extended beyond just Margaret. Both Robert and Jennifer had married partners from wealthy backgrounds, people Margaret considered appropriate matches. They lived in the same exclusive neighborhood and moved in the same social circles. Meanwhile, David and I had chosen to live in a modest suburb because we wanted Lily to have a grounded childhood and preferred to live primarily on our earned income rather than relying on David's trust fund. By the time Lily was 6, she began to notice the differential treatment. After one family gathering where Margaret had given personalized gift baskets to each grandchild but forgot Lily's, my daughter asked me, "Why doesn't Grandma like me as much as my cousins?" The question broke my heart, and I had no good answer. David confronted his mother about this incident, but Margaret brushed it off as an oversight and sent a generic gift basket a week later. No apology, no acknowledgement of the hurt feelings she'd caused. This pattern continued through birthdays and holidays. What made it more complicated was that despite everything, Lily adored her grandmother. Children have an incredible capacity for forgiveness and desire for family connection. Lily would make special artwork for Margaret and try to share her school achievements, lighting up whenever Margaret paid her any attention. These rare moments kept Lily trying, but each rejection hit her harder than the last. The annual Christmas gathering at Margaret's estate was always the most stressful event of our year. But nothing could have prepared us for what happened last December. The drive to Margaret's estate on Christmas Eve was filled with the usual mix of holiday music and my anxiety. Snow was falling gently, and Lily sat in the back seat clutching carefully wrapped presents she'd made for her grandparents and cousins, hand-painted ornaments she'd spent weeks perfecting. "Do you think Grandma will like my present?" Lily asked hopefully. She was wearing her best holiday dress and had insisted on wearing the pearl earrings Margaret had given her for her baptism, one of the few genuinely nice gifts her grandmother had ever given her. "She'll love it, sweetheart," David assured her, catching my eye in the rearview mirror. We both knew Margaret's typical reaction to handmade gifts, but neither of us wanted to dampen Lily's enthusiasm. Margaret's estate was decorated with professional lighting and massive wreaths. A valet took our car, and inside, the house was even more impressive with elaborate decorations and Margaret's preferred silver and blue color scheme rather than traditional Christmas colors. Lily's cousins were already there: 9-year-old Emma, 8-year-old Jacob, and 6-year-old Sophia, all dressed in designer holiday clothes. They were playing with expensive remote-controlled cars while their parents sipped cocktails with Margaret and David's father, William. Lily, Jacob called out, genuinely happy to see his cousin. Despite the adult dynamics, the children got along well. Lily rushed over to join their game while David and I made our obligatory rounds of greetings. Margaret air-kissed my cheeks, her expensive perfume overwhelming. "Sarah, that dress is festive," she said, her eyes flicking over my red sweater dress with barely concealed disapproval. Dinner was served at precisely 7 o'clock in the formal dining room. The table was set with Margaret's best china, making eating stressful even for adults, let alone children. Lily sat up straight, carefully using her napkin and remembering which fork to use. Etiquette I'd coached her on to avoid Margaret's criticism. After dinner, Margaret announced it was time for a special gift presentation in the living room. This was unusual since gifts typically weren't exchanged until Christmas morning. The children were instructed to sit on the Persian rug in front of the Christmas tree while adults took seats on surrounding furniture. This year, Margaret announced with unusual excitement, "I've decided that my grandchildren have reached an important milestone. They're growing up so quickly, and staying connected in this digital age is important." An assistant began bringing out identical large boxes wrapped in silver paper with blue bows. My stomach tightened as I realized there were only 3 boxes, not 4. "I've given this considerable thought," Margaret continued, "and I believe my grandchildren deserve something special that reflects their status and helps them stay connected with family and the right social circles." The assistant handed boxes to Emma, Jacob, and Sophia. Each box had a child's name elegantly written on a card. Lily sat expectantly, looking around for her box. "Go ahead, open them," Margaret encouraged. The 3 children tore into the wrapping paper with enthusiasm. Gasps and squeals followed as each revealed a brand new iPhone 16 Pro Max in different colors with personalized cases. Not just any version, but the premium model that cost well over $1,000 each. "These have been set up with appropriate contacts and parental controls," Margaret explained, "and they're engraved with your names and our family crest." Lily's expression shifted from excitement to confusion as she realized she hadn't received a box. She looked around, thinking perhaps hers had been forgotten. "Grandma," Lily said softly, raising her hand slightly, "did mine get lost?" The room went silent. Even Emma, Jacob, and Sophia seemed to realize something uncomfortable was happening. Margaret's smile remained fixed, but her eyes hardened. "No, Lily dear, I didn't get you one." Lily's face fell. "Oh, did I do something wrong?" Margaret patted her perfectly styled hair. "Not wrong exactly. I just don't think you're ready for such an expensive gift yet. These are very special phones for children who have demonstrated they deserve them." The implication hung in the air that Lily somehow was undeserving. "Mother," David began, his voice tight, "what are you talking about?" Margaret waved a dismissive hand. "Don't make a scene, David. Lily is still young. Perhaps next year if she improves." "I did get her something else." She nodded to her assistant, who handed Lily a small envelope. With trembling fingers, Lily opened it to find a $20 gift card to a bookstore chain. The disparity was so shocking that several adults gasped audibly. "Thank you, Grandma," Lily whispered, years of coaching and politeness overriding her obvious hurt. I could feel heat rising in my face, my hands shaking with anger. David had gone completely still beside me. Robert's wife, Catherine, broke the awkward silence. "Margaret, surely this is a misunderstanding. You can't possibly have meant to exclude only Lily. It's my decision how I gift to my grandchildren." Margaret replied coldly. "Now, who would like some eggnog?" The rest of the evening passed in a blur of tension. Lily tried so hard to be brave, congratulating her cousins while clutching her $20 gift card. To their credit, the other children seemed uncomfortable, with Jacob even offering to let Lily play with his phone. The drive home was quiet except for Lily's occasional sniffles from the back seat. She had waited until we were in the car to let her tears fall. "I don't understand," she whispered as we pulled into our driveway. "Why doesn't Grandma think I deserve nice things like my cousins?" David turned off the engine and sat in silence before turning to face our daughter. "Lily, This has nothing to do with you deserving things. Grandma made a terrible mistake tonight. You deserve the world, sweetheart. But the damage was done. As I tucked Lily into bed that night, I could see in her eyes that something fundamental had shifted. A piece of her childhood innocence had been stripped away. After Lily finally fell asleep, David and I had the confrontation that had been brewing all evening. What the hell was that, David? I whispered furiously. Your mother publicly humiliated our daughter on Christmas Eve. David ran his hands through his hair. I had no idea she was planning that. I'm as shocked as you are. Are you? Really? Because this is just the culmination of 7 years of your mother treating Lily like she's somehow less than her other grandchildren. That's not fair, Sarah. I've spoken to her about this before. You've made excuses for her before, I corrected. Every time. Mom's just old-fashioned, or she doesn't mean it that way. Well, guess what? She hasn't changed. She's gotten worse. And our daughter is paying the price. David sat heavily on our bed. You're right, he admitted. I've been hoping things would improve on their own because confronting my mother directly is, he trailed off. Is what? Too hard? More difficult than watching your child cry herself to sleep because her grandmother declared her unworthy. You don't understand what she's like when she's truly angry, David said quietly. The family falls in line or faces consequences. I don't care about consequences for us, David. I care about Lily. Did you see her face tonight? She thanked your mother for a $20 gift card while watching her cousins get $1,000 phones. Something shifted in David's expression then. You're right, this stops now. I'm calling her. Not tomorrow. Tonight, right now. After a moment's hesitation, David nodded and pulled out his phone, putting it on speaker. Margaret answered on the 4th ring. David, darling, did you call to thank me for the lovely evening? No, Mother, I did not, David replied. I'm calling about what happened with Lily tonight. Oh, don't be dramatic, David. Lily is simply too young for such an expensive phone. Jacob is a year younger than Lily, I pointed out. Sarah. Margaret's tone cooled immediately. I didn't realize I was on speakerphone. Sarah's family, David responded. And age isn't the real reason you excluded Lily. What's the real reason, Mother? A pause. Fine. If you must know, I've been observing Lily's behavior and academic performance. Her grades, while adequate, don't reflect William's standards of excellence. Children need to learn that premium privileges come with premium behavior. I bit my tongue. Lily was an excellent student who worked hard despite some challenges with math. That's still not the truth, Mother, David said quietly. What's this really about? Another longer pause. If you insist on complete honesty, fine. Lily is too much like her mother, lacking the refinement and ambition that defines our family. I had hoped your infatuation with Sarah would fade, but since that didn't happen, I've been trying to ensure your daughter could be properly influenced. Unfortunately, she seems to have inherited Sarah's limitations rather than William's potential. The silence that followed was deafening. David's face had gone white, then flushed with anger. Let me be very clear, he finally said. You will never speak about my wife or daughter that way again. Your behavior tonight was inexcusable, and unless you can offer a genuine apology and change your treatment of Lily, we will be reevaluating our relationship with you. Margaret's laugh was cold. Be careful, David. Your position at the firm, your standing in the community, even that house you live in, all connected to the Williams name. Are you threatening me, Mother? I'm reminding you of reality. It would be a shame to jeopardize Lily's future because Sarah has filled your head with middle-class notions. If that's your position, then we have nothing more to discuss, David said, ending the call. The following days brought pressure from the extended family. Robert called suggesting we'd overreacted. Jennifer texted that we were being dramatic. William left voicemails asking David to be reasonable. More surprising were supportive messages. Catherine secretly texted that Margaret had done similar things to Jacob when she was unhappy with Robert's decisions. David's cousin called to say it was about time someone stood up to Margaret. Despite our attempts to shield Lily from the conflict, she was perceptive enough to notice the sudden change in family communication. When no invitation arrived for Sophia's birthday party, Lily asked the question we'd been dreading. Are we not family anymore because I made Grandma mad? That night, David sat staring at an old family photo. I've been thinking about what my mother said about family loyalty, he began. She's right that family loyalty matters. But my loyalty belongs to you and Lily first. You're my family, that marked a turning point. David, who had spent his life trying to meet his mother's impossible standards, was finally choosing a different path. The cost was high. His father hinted that David's position at the family firm might be reconsidered. But David seemed certain of his choice. "We'll figure this out," he promised. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Lily deserves better. And so do you." As January progressed, the family schism widened. Margaret used her social influence to have us removed from community event guest lists. William became distant at work. But something unexpected also happened. Other family members began sharing their own stories of Margaret's manipulative behavior throughout the years. Lily struggled with the situation. She came home from school quieter, and I discovered a heartbreaking note under her pillow. "Things I can do better so Grandma will love me." The list included getting all A's, not spilling anything, being prettier, and being smarter. We immediately sought help from Dr. Martinez, a child therapist specializing in family dynamics. She explained that Lily was experiencing classic responses to conditional love and family rejection. Children Lily's age are developing their core understanding of their worth, Dr. Martinez explained. When a close family member implies they're unworthy, children internalize that message deeply. Through therapy, we learned to help Lily understand that her grandmother's behavior was about Margaret's problems, not Lily's worth. It was a slow process, but gradually we saw improvements in Lily's confidence. By spring, we'd established new boundaries and a healthier family dynamic. William began visiting regularly without Margaret, developing an independent relationship with Lily. Robert and Catherine also started setting their own boundaries with Margaret after noticing similar patterns affecting their children. The real test came at a family wedding in June. We decided to attend, preparing Lily for potentially seeing Margaret. The interaction was brief but civil. Margaret complimented Lily's dress and seemed to make an effort to be kind, though it felt forced. "That's probably the closest to an apology we'll get," David reflected afterward. "It's a start," I agreed. "But we maintain our boundaries until there's real consistent change." Over the following months, Margaret made tentative efforts to reconnect, mostly through William. Small gestures, a thoughtful birthday card, a book related to Lily's interests indicated she might be trying to see Lily as an individual. In October, Margaret requested a private meeting with David and me. "I've been doing some reflection," she began stiffly. "William has been insistent that I examine my behavior toward Lily and its impact." She still couldn't offer a full apology, but she acknowledged that perhaps her approach had been unnecessarily rigid. It wasn't everything we'd hoped for, but it was progress. We agreed to allow limited supervised interactions, starting with a family dinner at our home. The evening was awkward but civil, with Margaret making visible efforts to show interest in Lily without criticism. The most revealing moment came when Lily mentioned struggling with math. "Numbers were never my strong suit either," Margaret admitted. "Your grandfather was always the mathematician in the family." This small admission of imperfection seemed monumental, coming from someone who had built her identity around flawless achievement. By Christmas 1 year after the iPhone incident, we cautiously accepted an invitation to a smaller family gathering. Each child received thoughtfully selected gifts of equal value. Lily's gift from her grandparents was a telescope, acknowledging her recent interest in astronomy, with a card that read simply, "To explore new worlds. Love, Grandma and Grandpa." As Lily thanked her grandparents, I noticed Margaret watching her with an expression I'd never seen before, a softness suggesting she might finally be seeing Lily as a person to appreciate rather than a project to perfect. That evening, as we tucked Lily into bed, she reflected on the day. "Grandma seems different now," she observed. "She listens more and doesn't make that face like she's waiting for me to make a mistake." "People can change when they realize they need to," I explained. "It takes time and effort, but it's possible." The following morning brought a moment that symbolized our journey. As the family gathered for breakfast, Lily was helping Jacob with his new tablet. "You're really good at explaining things," Margaret commented. "You have a gift for teaching, Lily. That's a valuable quality, more important than having the latest gadgets or achievements to show off." Later, as we prepared to leave, Margaret approached me privately. "I wanted to thank you," she said, clearly uncomfortable with the vulnerability, "for not giving up on the possibility of change, for giving Lily the chance to know her grandmother despite my mistakes." It wasn't a full reckoning, but it was an acknowledgement that mistakes had been made. Coming from Margaret, It represented significant growth. Emily deserves to know all her family. I responded carefully, as long as those relationships support her rather than diminish her. Margaret nodded, understanding the boundary in my words. I'm trying to do better. That's all any of us can do. I acknowledged. As we drove home that afternoon, with Lily napping, surrounded by her new gifts, David and I reflected on the profound lessons that had emerged from our painful experience. A year ago, I was furious with my mother for hurting Lily, David mused. I still hold her accountable, but I also see how she was repeating patterns she probably experienced herself. Breaking generational cycles is hard work, but it's worth it, I agreed. Look at what Lily's learning, that she deserves respect, that it's possible to set boundaries with family, and that people can change. The journey wasn't over. Margaret's progress was real but fragile, requiring continued boundaries and reinforcement. But a child who might have grown up believing her worth was tied to achievements and conformity was instead developing a secure sense of intrinsic value. As we pulled into our driveway, Lily stirred in the back seat. Are we home? She asked sleepily. We're home, David confirmed. I'm glad we went to Grandma and Grandpa's, but I like our house better, Lily said with a yawn. It feels safer. That's what home should feel like, I told her, reaching back to squeeze her hand. A place where you're loved exactly as you are, and that, ultimately, was the lesson worth all the struggle. That love should never come with conditions, that worth is inherent rather than earned, and that family relationships should nurture rather than diminish. It was a lesson Lily would carry forward, perhaps one day helping her break similar cycles in her own relationships. The cycle of conditional love that had shaped generations of the Williams family had been challenged, examined, and begun to transform. While Margaret's change wasn't complete or perfect, it was meaningful. Most importantly, Lily was learning that her value didn't depend on anyone's approval, not even her grandmother's.